Your trophy position in STU ladies, ESP, the lead taken and pretty much held all weekend by Jadrice Toussaint in that monster Boss 302 Laguna Seca edition, finishing up with a 1.5 second lead over the class for the weekend, ahead of Brian Finch, Dave Heinrich in your trophy positions. David Hedrick taking the lead in X prepared by 9/10 over Todd Keene, who is your second trophy position. And I am going to relinquish command and control, turn you over to the capable hands of Mr. Corrales.
Jolene DeZingle, please report to your work assignment. I know you just finished up with, actually, I'm not sure if you finished up in STU or STUL, but marked as STU here. Jolene DeZingle, please report to your work assignment. I think that's the only person that we're waiting for. Just about getting ready to go. Give me a few moments while we set everything up here in timing. Apparently, we're setting up a video of Keith Marks from yesterday, apparently. Queuing that up on the live stream. So if you have access to the Ustream, you may be in for a small treat. All right, we've got cars to the line. Brett Steinhauser in the 2001 Honda S2000. Going to be our first contestant for Heat 2 here at the 2014 Wilmington Championship Tour. One more call for Jolene D. Zingle. Jolene, please report to your work assignment. All right. So Brett heading out on course. Pulling up my STR results from yesterday, which had a bit of inclement weather. Mother Nature not cooperating with these street-tired S2000s and Mazdas. I say Mazdas because you have a mix of MX-5s and Miatas, although the MX-5 really is a Miata. So one of the same, your class leader, Nick Barbado, is going to be coming up in second drivers here as everyone's going to be looking to try to chase him down in dry conditions, maybe show that it takes more than one run to get it done. I'm sure Nick's out there shaking his head, just imagining what he could have done with his second couple runs, but looking good to get 3 in today as Brett Steinhauser coming through the finish. He's got a 57.8 to start us off in STR, new provisional leader, as he's the first car in with a couple of times, although Brett had a DNF on his first and only dry run from yesterday, so unfortunate incident there where he's looking at 2 wet runs from yesterday, looking to see how much he can come from behind after getting a little bit wet and slippery from those 2 runs yesterday. He'll have a few runs to dry it off here as Stephen Lee comes through in the number 24 car, a 58.7. 58.7. He jumps ahead of Brett by a bit, a good margin, as he did have looks like a couple of runs in the dry from yesterday. So it's going to be a big mix. Bunch of cars scrambling for the top 5 trophy spots, with Kurt Bogeman coming in a DNF on his first run here. DNF for Kurt on his first run. So that's no help. Luckily, he'll have 2 more chances at the course, with cars coming through very fast. Starter setting them off. Rapid fire. Larry McCarthy, another DNF. So a pair of DNFs already here in STR. All right, Justin Gates next through. He's running in a 58.6, new provisional leader in SDR, 1.1 ahead of Stephen Lee. That 58.6 combined with his best yesterday time, a 66.8. That leaves him with a 125.4 cumulative for those at home doing the math. Jared Hicks, new fast time for today, but that's only good enough to slot him a half second behind Justin Gates into that second spot. Squeezing his way between Stephen Lee and Justin Gates. Those 3 drivers, 1, 2, and 3, as Josh McDonough comes through, bumps Justin Gates back to that number 2 spot, and he takes over the lead by 24 thousandths. Tight gap up there at the top. 58.1 is the time for Josh McDonough. Marcus Luttrell is in next. He's got the new quick time for today, and with that takes over that lead from Josh with a 56.6. 56.6 for Marcus Luttrell, a 1.9 second lead over Josh. Both of those drivers driving Mazdas, although Marcus in that 99 Mazda Miata, the NB versus the NC of Josh McDonough in the MX-5. Noel Leslie in the S2000, what does he have for us? A 57.6. That's good enough to split that Mazda pairing by 1/10 of a second. Marcus Luttrell in that top spot. Noel Leslie getting himself in a second ahead of Josh McDonough by 1.8. So the 2 top cars right now separated by 1/10 of a second, with Tim Vyers next in, a 57.2. That's a bit quicker than Noel, but not good enough to get up in the trophy. 6/10 out. As he had a little bit of trouble on his first run from yesterday. Tim Vyers, a 57.2. He's sitting 6th currently, about maybe halfway through STR. Josh Owens in next. He ups the ante on a 55.9, but that DNF from yesterday on his first run, paying the price for that still. He's 0.5 behind Noel in that third spot. Matthew Braun coming in next. 54.9, 54.9, but unfortunately is +1. Even with that cone, he takes the top spot from Marcus by 1.6. So a 54.9 resets that bar. Although, unfortunately, one cone on that run for Matthew Braun in the number 98 car. All right, SCR first drivers all through. We're moving into C-prepared ground-pounding action. First up is the 87 Chevy Camaro of Greg Ballou. Greg in with a 62.1, 62.1. Looks like he stood on his first and only run from yesterday in the dry, although he had a cone on that one. We'll see if he can claw it back this morning with Ron Ittner coming in next, a 68.4. That'll put him a bit behind as he only had that one final wet run from yesterday. John Bradbury coming in from, I believe, your leader from yesterday. Unfortunately, a DNF on this run, a 58.7. Great scratch time, but a DNF on this run off course for John Bradbury and that Ford Thunderbird. Chris Miller's in next. He's running a 54.2, 54.2. That is a very good time in that Ford Mustang Turbo, although that DNF on his first run yesterday, throwing away that dry run, left him standing in the rain. Managed to get himself in a second with that run. That's the quickest time so far from CP for today in the dry. Although now he's bumped back into third as Arnold Beebe comes through, a 62.4. Your new leader in C prepared, 1.5 ahead of Greg Ballou. Arnold, thankfully, with a dry run from yesterday that counted, as a bunch of drivers yesterday had trouble finding the course. Moving into B Street here with Ann Vinson, a 62.4, 62.4 for Ann. And in the Small Fortune Racing S2000 from Export, Pennsylvania. She's followed up by Jim Zeisler in the Dave Cutney Tire MX-5. Jim's in with a 60.3 to take that lead from Ann in B Street. Although only two drivers with times in so far, still have 6 to go. Dave Baker's going to be in next, but unfortunately a DNF. Dave Baker with an off course. And I'm getting a bunch of radio calls coming in.
Control corner 4.
So Dave Baker, DNF on his first run in that 2000 Chevy Corvette. George Modlin in next, a 60.0. That'll take over the top spot from Jim Zeisler in B Street, 60.0, to give George a 1.3 second lead in B Street.
Control, this is corner 4. Go ahead, 4. Correction on the...
Ed Fisher in next. A pair of cones on this one, a 60.4, 60.4, plus 2 cones. If it wasn't for those cones, he'd be in the lead. Settles for second, even despite those 2 cones. Next, moving into kart modified. Kart mod, ton of DNFs from yesterday. We'll see how they find the course today. Tim Ruth in first, a 51.5 plus 1. 51.5 plus 1 for Tim Ruth. Followed up very quickly by Jason V. Jason with a 51.2. That one being clean will take the lead from Tim Ruth. 2 cars in out of 9 in kart mod. Colin Scheidler and George Nelson currently working the course. Colin's in through the finish, a 51.8 to take that lead back from Jason V. Colin Scheidler, a 51.8. Next up, Colin Scheidler. Colin Scheidler was in. George Nelson, 56.7. 56.7 for George Nelson. 56.7 puts him one out of the trophies, although I'm pretty sure he's going to get knocked back as he had some trouble finding the course on his first couple runs yesterday. Settled for a wet run. So an unfortunate case there. Kevin Vincent in next in the number 27 cart. 58.4 to put Kevin in that third spot. Kevin banked on his first run and then had a couple DNFs in the wet. Clarence Clark in next. He bumps Kevin out of the trophies with a 53.5, but plus one cone. 53.5 plus one for Clarence to slot himself in a third in kart modified. So it looks like some of the results not updating on Solo Live. I'm going to try to do my best to keep you up to date from home. Michael Francis in with a 52.2. 52.2 for Michael Francis. That put him in the second spot, but he's bumped down to third as Scott Boydo. Wow, a 49.9. 49.9 for Scott Boydo on his first run to take that lead over from Colin Scheidler by almost 4 seconds. So topping kart mod, Scott Boydo in first, Colin Scheidler in second, Michael Francis in third as we're back to door slam in action. Matt Butts in the number 32 car, 57.8. Looks like we're going live on board with the number 39 car. That's got to be Robert Christmas. So Francis Miller in next at 56.5, 56.5 as I'm glancing over my shoulder watching Robert Christmas take the course in that number 39 E-Prepared car. Ryan Lutz in next. He's got a 57.2 as Robert Christmas rounds the last couple turns. He's got one more sweeping left-hander to a right-hand kink. Watching his in-car. That thing shifting directions very quickly. He prepared a very light class. Pretty much all handling there. Christmas in with a 56.7. 56.7. I hope you enjoyed the show if you're watching the Ustream. 56.7 for Robert Christmas. You can see the time there on that lower left-hand corner. Gordon Maklowitz in the number 57 car, I believe was your leader from yesterday. 53.8. 53.8 for the number 57 E-Prepared car. Takes back that lead from Robert Christmas. 53.8 for Gordon. Good time there. Fastest scratch. Fastest clean and scratch in EP. Matt Turo next up in the number 58 car. He's running the CRX in EP. 56.9. 56.9. And not even enough time to catch my breath. Amod in. It's Dan Washall, a 46.2. 46.2 for Dan. But Dan, unfortunately, not able to get a timed run from yesterday. Dan would have been my pick from yesterday, but a DNF on his first run and then runs in the rain, just not helping him out. So Dan, an unfortunate case of being taken out by a DNF and then rain. Dave O'Malley in next, a 50.5. 50.5 for Dave O'Malley. And due to that clean run from yesterday on run number 1, take the top spot, likely to be untouchable. And but we'll see what his go-driver has to say. If he can take it over, that'll be an epic comeback. Simi Rich in SSRL, the ladies from SSR, the Pirate, we'll say race tire class, although those are DOTRs. 57.3 plus 1, 57.3 plus 1 for Simi. Thinks she was one out of the trophies from yesterday. We'll see if she can claw her way back in. Shelly Monfort was in second yesterday. What does she have for us today? This looks slow, so might have been stopped for a down cone. We'll find out if that run gets tossed. A 65.6, uncharacteristic for Shelly there. Stephanie Reeve, a 55.4, your leader from yesterday, carries a 1.1 second lead in today. 55.4, that looks like a pretty good time if I'm judging by what some cars ran earlier. So we'll see what Shelly has when she comes back for us. Cheryl Davis was sitting in third, I believe, a 57.8, and that'll get her back into that third spot. Let's see. Actually, I think Simi was third from yesterday, so Cheryl might have been out of the trophies. But either way, a 57.8, 57.8 for Cheryl Davis. She's going to be followed up by Donna Marks in another Corvette, a 59.8, 59.8 for Donna in that C5 Z06. Driving the Weavers mobile. We'll see her co-driver Chrissy coming up as the lone second driver in SSRL. Lyric Kramer, she's just gunning for fun as she was struck by the weather yesterday. A DNF on her first run unfortunately took her out. 55.4 is the time for her. Matches Stephanie Reeves' time from this morning. Those drivers only separated by 40 thousandths of a second in raw time on today's course. So Lyric showing that she has the pace. If only she had the dry runs yesterday. My heart goes out to you, Lyric. SSPL is going to be coming up next as Amanda Minen leaving the line in that SSP prepared Chevy Z06. The next step up for those SSR Corvettes. So I guess when you're done running around on the stock suspension and want to go a little bit faster, maybe tune the engine a little bit more, add a little bit of downforce with a spoiler and maybe a splitter. Step it up to SSP. Watching Amanda Minen out on course. Doing a great job with a live stream. Got to give a lot of thanks to Carts Live Internet Video Production Services for giving us this live video feed with a Carts cam. We have a little bit of camera action. You can see it panning out on course. A little different from the norm. Usually just have a start and a finish line static view, but now getting some live video feed, getting closer to that TV production quality that you might see on like ESPN or the Speed Channel. But this is much more exciting because we have a lot more and cooler cars here. I must say, I am not biased at all as Amanda Minen times in a 59.3, 59.3 for Amanda in that SSPL car. She's followed up by Laura Harbor driving in G Street Ladies. Unfortunate DNF for Laura. All she needs to do, I think, is set a time here as she's your class leader in that class as your only competitor in GSL. Laura Harbor, a DNF, unfortunately, there. Next car to leave the line, I believe the 194 STR car should have a live feed from that car. Some on-course video feed coming live to you from the Carts cam. Lynn Cox in with the SDSL car, a 61.3, 61.3, and we are live on course, I think. Scratch that. Might have had a little camera malfunction there from the live feed. So getting back to the panning action. Stephen McCarthy in next from STR. 171 and STR. 62.7. 62.7 for John Lee, but plus 2 cones. Sorry, for Stephen McCarthy. John Lee in next. 55.8 plus 2. 55.8 plus 2. Cars are coming in quick. Barely any time to announce some of the side action here. 55.8 plus 2 for John Lee and STR. Those 2 cones knocking them all the way back into 10th. Nick Barbado, your leader from yesterday. I'm going to say this has to be a conservative run because this is a little bit off the lead pace here. 55.4, 55.4, but this one is clean. A 55.4 for Nick Barbado, taking back the lead by 2.9. Due to Matthew Braun's cone. Nick Barbado, your leader. Matthew Braun, 2.9 back. Marcus Luttrell in third, 1.6 behind him. Travis Spencer's in next with a DNF. Unfortunate DNF there for the number 194 STR car. Might be a little thankful that we didn't have that live video feed there. As Jeff Walker comes in next, a 55.9, 55.9. He takes over that number 2 spot from Matthew Braun. Matthew with the cone, knocking him back into third. Nick Barbado, your class leader. Jeff Walker in second. Matthew Braun in third. Sean Ittner coming next for prepared second. Drivers, a 60.4 is the time for him, and Sean takes over the lead in CP. due to the DNF, I believe, from John Bradbury. We'll see what happens when John comes back on his second run. Ethan Bradbury, John's co-driver, coming through next. He takes over the lead from Sean, bumping Sean into the second trophy position. 54.7, great scratch time. I think 5/10 off the class lead for today. Chris Miller with the fastest time in CP so far for Sunday here at the 2004 Wilmington Champ Tour. Ethan Bradbury with a 54.7, just a half second off. Greg Vincent in B Street, second drivers, a 59.9, 59.9. That'll slot Greg Vincent into the top spot. Watched him spin it on his one and only dry run. Managed to get a 70.8 in the wet, so put a really good wet time in. And we're seeing what he can do to come back here in B Street. Greg knocked back into that second spot as Jack Burns times in a 60.0, 60.0, 1.5 is ahead of Greg Vincent. But Greg, like I said, a DNF in the dry, had to settle for a wet time. Jack Burns had that one run in the dry, then comes through today with a nice conservative run to slot himself in the lead by 1.5. Mike Eckert in next. Mike had a bunch of trouble. Watched him struggle with the course yesterday. We'll see what he can do today. A 60.4 plus 1, 60.4 plus 1 for Mike Eckert in that Chevy Corvette. Tim Vincent into Kart Mod's second drivers. We are flying here in second heat. The number 127 kart, a 55.9, 55.9 for Timothy Vincent. Aaron Miller in next, a 52.5, 52.5 for Aaron Miller in the number 146 A Street Prepared car. 52.5 for Aaron Miller. Takes over the lead. He was your leader from yesterday. Now a 6-second leader from Aaron Miller. Shelley Monfort on her rerun. 54.3, 54.3. Takes away a full second of Stephanie Reeves' lead. Now just 1/10 between Stephanie and Shelley for the top spot in SSRL. Looks like we are live. That's Chrissy Weaver, second driver in SSRL. Carmen Rollins in E prepared, 139 at 55.8, 55.8 to put Carmen into that second spot, 3 seconds behind Gordon. But now we are watching Chrissy Weaver on the live stream going through that course in that Chevy Corvette running an SSRL. She's doing a good job of staying nice and tight there on that right-hander. Peter Smith from AMOD, 57.5, 57.5. That gets him into the second spot, although he's going to need to up the ante to catch Dave O'Malley. Chrissy Weaver through the finish now. Time in 54.8, 54.8. Great scratch time there. Second fastest scratch in SSRL here on Sunday. That'll put her in the third spot ahead of Simi. Moving into second runs now with Brett Steinhauser taking off SSRL after first runs. Stephanie Reeves still in the lead, but now only a 1/10 lead over Shelley Monfort, who clawed back a full second of that gap. Chrissy Weaver making it into third. 1, 2, and 3, those three, your trophy positions in SSRL. So have some great weather here today, some great action out on course. If you're loving it, might be a good idea to get some t-shirts as we're watching. Who's that spinning? Is that Brett? Brett Steinhauser, a spin through the slalom coming back to the showcase sweeper. So pushing a little too hard, possibly on that entry to that slalom. He's making his way to the finish, thankfully, doing so very quickly. 64.1, that's going to be a throwaway run for Brett Steinhauser here in STR, as he's going to bank on his first run. So no help there for Brett. Stephen Lee in next, a 57.4 plus 1 cone. 57.4 plus 1 for Stephen. That would have been about a second improvement, but negated by the cone. 26 thou behind Tim Vyers for that 10th spot. Let's see if he can drop that cone may be able to make it up to near the trophies. Kurt Bogeman in the number 25 car, 59.2. 59.2 for Kurt, improving over his DNF from his first run. Larry McCarthy in next for the 2001 Mazda Miata. Larry moves in with a 61.3, improving over a DNF. 61.3, improving over his first run. DNF in that Mazda Miata. Looking at Justin Gates out on course, coming through the finish now. 57.5, 57.5 for Justin Gates. Puts Justin in that 7th spot, 2 spots out of the number 5th trophy position. Trophy's going to top 5 in class. He needs to make up about 7/10 of a second to do so. Noel Leslie sitting on that 5th spot on the bubble. Josh Owens just won out. Jared Hicks next in on 56.8, 56.8 for Jared Hicks. That'll put him up into that 8th spot, 7/10 away from Justin Gates. So Jared Hicks sitting in 8th on a 56.8. Watching the start line here. Who's that leaving the line? Josh McDonough in the number 90 car, 56.5, 56.5. An improvement for him, but not enough to get in the trophies as he bumps Josh Owens down into the 7th spot. Tim Vincent in kart modified. Next to finish, there must have been a rerun. 50.7 plus 1 killing, 50.7 plus 1. We're watching Noel Leslie in the number 91 car on the video feed. Noel rounding that final left-hand sweeper. He was sitting in that 5th and final trophy position. Can he move himself up in the standings? That right-hander into the finish, coming through. Slows down by a chunk. 64-1 plus 1. 64-1 plus 1 might have been saving tires for his co-driver. Might have had that cone early on in the run. Not sure what happened out there, but stays in 5th as he throws away a chunk of time on that run. Marcus Luttrell in next. He was sitting 1 spot ahead of Noel. Stays there on a 56.5, 56.5. Improves by about 1/10 of a second, but needs 1.5 to catch up to Matthew Braun in third place. Matthew Braun should be out on course as Tim Vyers comes to the finish. 56.6, 56.6 for Tim Vyers. He improves by almost 0.6 of a second. Looks like we are watching Matthew Braun on the live stream as Josh Owens comes through the finish of 56.0. Slows down by 21 thou. Watching Matthew Braun making his way through that final left-hand sweeper. Just a right-hand kink. Can he make up the time to get back up in a second, maybe challenge for that top spot? Time in for Matthew, a 54.6. Matches, even betters his first run time and drops the cone. A 2.2 second improvement to get him back up in a second place. Only 7/10 behind Nick Barbado. Greg Ballou in the number 5 CP car, 59.6. He improves by 2.5 seconds. That'll put him up in a 3rd place. NC prepared. Ron Idner next in a 65.7, 65.7 for Idner. That'll improve his time by 2.7 seconds. John Bradbury in next in the number 23 CP car, 56.4, 56.4 for John Bradbury, taking back the lead in CP. Has a half-second lead over Ethan Bradbury now in C prepared. Chris Miller next in, 53.6, 53.6. He continues to improve. Your fastest raw time here in CP for Sunday. So Chris Miller showing that he has the pace. An unfortunate DNF knocking him back in a 6th place. Would have liked to seen what he would have been able to do with 3 dry runs yesterday, but unfortunately has to settle for those dry runs today. Arnold Beebe in a day Into the finish with a 61.0, gaining about 1.4 seconds. He's 2 seconds out of the trophies behind Sean Idner. And Vincent in next, a 62.4, slows down by 17 thousandths of a second. So Vincent, 62.4. Jim Zeisler next in the B Street Mazda, 60.2, 60.2. He cleans up a cone and gains a tenth. Gets himself up into third, all the way from fifth. 8 tenths behind Greg Vincent for the number 2 spot. So Jim Zeisler sitting in third. Dave Baker in the number 61 B Street car in next. A DNF, unfortunately, on that. George Modlin, a 58.6 for him. He's sitting in third. Steve Harris going for a ride along, I think, with Pilsner in the ESP car. We'll see how much we can give him a good time, as that's a demo run moving out there on the live stream. George Modlin in next, 58.6. Ed Fisher in next, 59.6 to take over the lead, bumping Jack Burns into the second spot. Ed Fisher, your new leader in B Street, a 59.6. Kart modified action. Tim Ruth, 50.4. Unfortunately, all DNFs from yesterday, but Pilsner taking Steve Harris for the ride in that ESP car. Come on, I'm looking for some tail out action around those sweepers. It's just the demo run here, as Jason Vehe times in a 50.8. He's looking to get in the trophy, sitting in fourth, 9 tenths out from third spot. Jason Vehe, a 9 tenths deficit there to third with that 50.8. And Pilsen taking Harris. Steve Harris going along for that ride along. Pilsen nearly matching his fastest time there with a 54.2. So Pilsen going fast, although I'd like to see him showboat it a little on that run. Colin Scheidler in next in kart mod, a 50.3, 50.3. So far, Scott Boydo, the only kart modified driver to dip into 49s, a 50.3 for Colin Scheidler. George Nelson in next, a 51.1, 51.1 for George Nelson in the number 26 kart modified. He's sitting seventh after a couple wet runs, DNFing his first run, unfortunately, then settling for a wet run there. Kevin Vincent in next, a 54.3, 54.3 for him. He improves by 4 whole seconds. Next up, Clarence Clark, 51.0, 51.0 for Clarence Clark. If you're watching the Ustream, you're on board with Matt Butts in the 370Z running an ASP as Michael Francis comes through the finish. He improves by a full second, a 51.2 for Michael Francis. Was in third from yesterday, stays in third, although he's 4 seconds back, has a 2-second advantage over Jason Vehe. Things likely not to change due to the inclement weather spreading us out. Scott Boydo, can he improve? No, it's a DNF. DNF for Scott Boydo in the number 68 kart. Not able to improve in that 49. On board, we got a spin from the onboard video feed as Matt Butts pushing a little bit too hard into the left-hand sweeper before the finish. He's got to hurry up as Francis Miller in the Mitsubishi Evo trailing close behind as Matt Butts times in, slows down on this run, a 63.9, not able to improve on that 57 as maybe a little stage fright, that onboard action from Matt Butts with the spin. Francis Miller, a 57.6, slows down by 1.1, and the number 46, A Street Prepared Mitsubishi Evo, still 4 seconds behind co-driver Aaron Miller. Ryan Lutz in next in the MR2, 55.2 for Lutz. Had cones on his one and only dry run unfortunately, yesterday, which unfortunately sets him back into that 4th position in ASP. Christmas coming up through the finish. It's Christmas in August. Robert Christmas, number 39, and he prepared DNF. So no gifts there for Robert, as he sits in the 3rd spot, 2.6 behind Carmen. Gordon Maklowitz next in, a 53.9, 53.9, 1.9 second improvement to stretch out that lead ahead of Carmen Rollins now, 2.9 second advantage as Gordon Maklowitz times in a 53.9. Fastest time here in E-Prepared. Actually, Gordon tagging a cone late. Cone call on Gordon, still in the lead by 1 whole second over Carmen. Matt Turo in with a 55.9, 55.9 for Matt. He's 1.8 behind Carmen. We're going to be looking for Carmen to try to match that time. If she can match Gordon's time, she'll be able to take over the lead thanks to cones by Gordon. Dan Washdahl from A Modified next, 88.5. Must have had some trouble out there as Dan had that 46.2 early on, but an 88.5, uncharacteristically slow for A Mod there. Some Super Street R ladies. Oh, actually, Dan Washdahl did not chip the finish. Looks like the 88.5. Just not even a time, as we're setting a truck out there right in front of my windscreen. Must have missed that. I got too many windows over here. So a little bit of downtime here. If you're enjoying some of this video action, it's brought to you by Carts, a live internet video production service. Hopefully we can get these guys out for the next few events, even nationals. I'd love to see these guys at nationals. Maybe do some of these video feeds for the Pro Solo. Pro Solos are a really good chance to get some car against car action and maybe a couple. I'm going to suggest some multiple video angles, especially from the side when you can watch both of those cars launching off the line, taking the course, and then those photo finishes. Side by side action from Pro Solo. That would be awesome, especially for those folks at home that can't make it out. Although this national, somebody said that it was one of the largest nationals attendance in recent years. So if you're looking to join in on the fun, join in on the luau-themed nationals, cone surfing USA, definitely make it out. I think we might have missed the early registration cutoff, but don't let that stop you. I know a bunch of people signed up on that last day, just rearranging their travel and funds and everything to make it out because it is worth it. Great fun out there at Solo Nationals. As someone who's made it out to the past, I don't even remember how many events, highly recommend staying out there for the full 5 days, if not full week, if you can make it out there for the Pro Solo. As even on the off days, a lot of fun watching people run, a lot of fun in the downtime, some parties at night. Will not mention some of the action that goes on. As I know some people in paddock and listening do not want me to divulge some of those nationals. What happens in nationals stays in nationals. We'll say that. So again, we are broadcasting live. Getting back to action with SSRL. This is Simi Rich leaving the line in her Porsche 911 GT3. A beautiful looking car. Shelly Monfort leaving the line now. She's going to be looking to claw back that tenth of a second gap between her and Stephanie, who's sitting at the line now. So managed to get myself live up on a Facebook. If you want to mention something, just post something to my wall maybe. This is PJ Corrales announcing, if you didn't know. Shameless self-promotion, that is right. Or maybe I just want interesting things to announce if you have it out there. All right, let's see. Why do I not have a time for Simeon here? Simeon, not sure what's going on with my times. May have a rerun unless we can fix this. I got a 57-something on the board there, 57.6 on the board. Although my time's on the screen, not indicative of what's on my announce laptop. Shelly Monfort, 54.8. 54.8, I believe that's going to be a half second slower, so no out there by Shelly. We'll see what Stephanie has. Does Stephanie dip into the 54s? A little bit faster than her first run. Only 0.2 faster. 55.2. 55.2 for Stephanie. Still waiting for my announce screen to update here. Although I think we do have these times in the books as they're showing up on my display board. A 57.7 is the next car in. I think that would be Cheryl Davis, 57.7. I'm just going by who I know out there on course. Donna Mark's going to be the next car in, a 57.3. Donna driving the Weaver Mobile. 57.3 for Donna. Shooting on the fly here. That's going to be a 2.5 second gain for Donna. That should bump Donna up a spot, maybe. Unless Simi's run was clean. I do not know that. 53.8 is the time in next. 53.8 for, I think that was, that had to have been Lyric with that 53. So Lyric in the 53s, showing that she is the quickest lady today. All right, 47.9 the time in. I think that was Dan. Was that Dan Washall or was that the second A-Mod cart? I'm completely guessing here. Who's in next? SSPL, Amanda Minen. I think that was a 57.9 by Amanda. 57.9 by Amanda Minen. And that should improve over the DNF. Assuming that was on course again. My announce display is not updating, so I do not have standings updated. I do apologize. Doing my best here to keep you up to date with at least the times coming through. As Laura Harbor comes through. Laura, 61.5, 61.5 for Laura, I believe. She had a DNF on her first run. Trying to page manually to a G Street Ladies. Yeah, it's a 61.5. Hopefully that's on course. She had a DNF on her first run. Lynn Cox going to be next in that 1990 Mazda Miata from STSL. Lynn in a 71.7 for Lynn. 71.7. We are live on board with a car coming through the finish next. That's the number 171 car of Steve McCarthy. So Steve McCarthy, 56.5, 56.5 for Steve McCarthy. And looks like my live feed coming in. I'm being told there's 8 dozen chocolate chip cookies at Rocky Hill for those that were in the know from the Brian Connors spiel from the Toledo Pro, using those magical cookies to make his way to the top spot. 55.6 for the next car in. John Lee, 55.6. I'm trying to look at the cars on course. Or was that Nick Barbado? I think that might have been Nick with that 56. I'm all out of sync here. So John Lee, a 57.7, 57.7 for John Lee, 57.3 for Nick Barbado, unless something's wrong here. Something doesn't seem right. Times are updating, and I got a 55.2 for the final car through the finish. I can't even get back into my screen. 55.2. Just going to hold on for 1 second as I've got a C prepared car, number 122, and C prepared 59.0. 59.0 for the CP car through the finish as my screen's going crazy as things are getting updated and fixed here. 122, Sean Idner, 59.0. He's going to be followed up by Ethan Bradbury. Ethan, 52.8. 52.8. I think that was Ethan. Was that Ethan? Can't see who's going through that finish line there. But 52.8 for Ethan Bradbury. New fast time, taking over that top time for today from Chris Miller. Showing that Chris isn't the only one that can fly in those C-prepared cars. I think we're into third heat workers. Please start checking in. We're into second drivers in B Street. Or was that a first driver? 59.0 for that last B Street car coming through the finish. 59.0. Missed the time there. Let's see, B Street second drivers, trying to page over to B Street. My screen doesn't want to cooperate with me, though. So that was a 59.0. Who had that time? All right, next up is going to be Chevy Corvette. Didn't even see the time. Cart modified coming to the finish too fast. 50.8 for the cart in the finish. Cart modified. Second driver, I think. That should be Tim Vincent with that 50. Aaron Miller coming in next in ASP. Let's see what he can do. He's your class leader in A Street Prepared. Aaron Miller, a 54.5. 54.5 for Aaron Miller. So again, third shift workers, please start checking in. Third shift workers, please start checking in. EP second drivers, 56.0 for Carmen Rollins. 56.0 for Carmen. I believe that's slower than her first run. So 56.0 for Carmen. Does not help her cause. Let's see. SSRL coming next is going to be Chrissy Weaver sitting in the third spot. Can she challenge Shelly for that number 2 spot? 55.6 for Chrissy. 55.6 for Chrissy. That is an improvement. If that was clean, that should be about a second, almost a second improvement for Chrissy. Although faster on her first run in raw time. I think she dipped down into a high 54. So we'll see if she can match that on her third and final run. We got a treat for you coming up on board with Peter Smith. Live video feed, on-course action from A Modified. Wow, that is awesome. You can see a little bit of the suspension working. Camera can't even keep up with how fast this car is going. A-Mod, just the pinnacle of speed here in SCCA Solo. Man, that is an F1-like view as watching Peter Smith work his way through the course. He's working down a couple offsets to the tightest turn on the course, possibly the slowest. Big acceleration shoot that'll put him into a late braking, trail braking through that right-hander into the slalom, coming back across the lot towards paddock. right-hand sweeper directly into a left-hand sweeper. That left-hand sweeper kind of decreasing radius as it puts them into a right-hand pinch before the finish. Time in 55.6 on the board. 55.6 on the board for Peter Smith and Amon. Great action there from that live video feed. All right, moving into STR. First drivers for third and final runs. Third runs for second heat. That means that if you're working the third heat, you have to check in right now. 57.0. 57.0 is the time in for Brett. I'm not sure if that's an improvement. Brett, I think that is an 0.8 improvement for Brett. Next up is going to be the number 24 car in SCR, Stephen Lee, a 57.7. 57.7 for Stephen Lee on his third run. 57.7 for Stephen Lee. And that should be an improvement if it's clean. 58.5 is the time for the number 25 car of Kurt Bogeman. Kurt in with a 58.5, and that should be about a 0.7 improvement for Kurt. Again, I am announcing on the fly here. I only have a timing board in front of me and kind of guessing at who's driving what car, so I apologize if I miss anybody. Larry McCarthy to the finish, 60.8, 60.8 for Larry in that NB Miata. That'll be about a 0.5 second improvement for him. Again, my announce screen, I don't have standings. I only have the times. Number 78 car, Justin Gates, 56.7. Looks like a 0.9 improvement for him. 56.74 Justin Gates for a 0.9 improvement. If nobody else moved up, that should challenge for a trophy position. Number 67 car, 56.8. 56.8. That actually is, I think, Jared Hicks, the number 87 car. Jared matching his best time, I believe. All right, next up, the number 90 car. Josh McDonough, a 57.2, and finally my board starting to announce Josh, unfortunately, 0.2 behind Noel Leslie for that fifth and final trophy position. So Josh McDonough slotting himself into sixth as he times in on that 57. Noel Leslie was in fifth, a 57.0. Is that going to help him? 0.6 improvement. It does. Puts him up into fourth place ahead of Marcus Luttrell by a 0.5 second. Noel about 2.5 behind Jeff Walker. Noel slotting in fourth in SCR. Marcus Luttrell, does he take the position back? It's a 56.5. That's faster than Noel's time, but it's not enough to take back the fourth position. So Marcus Luttrell, your fifth and final trophy position by a 0.5 second. He's 0.4 ahead of Josh McDonough. Another 0.3 back to Josh Owens. Tim Byers in next, 56.5. 56.5 for Tim Byers. He moves up one in the number 10th spot. 0.6 behind Jared Hicks. 0.1 ahead of John Lee. So Tim Byers in the 10th spot in STR. Next up, Josh Owens, 55.5. 55.5 for Josh, and he moves up one into the 6th spot. Unfortunately, 0.3 out of the trophies behind Marcus Luttrell. CP number 23 live on board. That's going to be John Bradbury taking you for a ride as Matthew Braun gets his 54.3. 0.3 improvement for him. Not enough to catch Nick Barbado, who still has a 1.2 second lead after he timed in with a 54.6 on his second run. So Nick Barbado holding on to that lead. Matthew Braun putting on a good charge, 54.3, showing that he has the pace, if only it was dry yesterday. But Nicky's saying, you need that. Every run counts. That one run flying in the dry. before the rain on STR. Greg Ballou in the number 5 CP car. 63.0 to finish the day. 63.0 for Greg. Ron Itter next up, a 64.5. And that's going to be John Bradbury with the onboard cam coming through the finish now with a 55.8, showing you how to improve by 2.6 seconds. But his co-driver, Ethan Bradbury, checking out of the class with a 7/10 lead. That 52.8 from early, he still has one more run. John will do no better than second. About 5 seconds ahead of Sean Ittner, so he looks pretty safe there. Sean defending that number 3 spot. He'll come through in second drivers along with Ethan. Chris Miller in next, a 53.1, continuing to improve. Chris in the number 3 car, 43 car, 53.1. Final C prepared car for first drivers is going to be Arnold Beebe, number 50 in C prepared, improving by 4 seconds on a 58.4, 58.4. He's only a second behind Sean Ittner for that third and final trophy position. Ian Vincent in B Street coming up next. Ian Vincent in next, a 61.0, 61.0, improving by 1.4, 61.0 for Ian Vincent in B Street and sitting in that 6th position. Next up, Jim Zeisler, a 60.0, 60.0. So Dave Baker next, a DNF. DNF for Dave Baker. Unfortunately, DNFs on all 3 of his runs today. Looks like live timing is back up. Should have a couple delays in C Prepared and STR, as I'm told that there's some audit issues. But Solo Live back on board. George Modlin in next, 58.9, improving by 1 whole second in B Street. Not enough to catch up to Greg Vincent for that third and final trophy position. 58.9 for George Modlin in B Street. Final B Street car for first drivers coming through. It's Ed Fisher, a 58.4, 58.4 for Ed Fisher. He is your class leader, defending his lead with a 1.2 second improvement in B Street in that 2000 Chevy Corvette over Jack Burns, who's sitting in second. Well, we're going to be looking for Jack to come back in second runs, although Jack's going to need to pull out a hero run to try to catch up. Tim Ruth in for Kart Modified, a 50.2, 50.2. 2/10 improvement there, although unfortunately DNFs on all of his times from yesterday. Jason Vehe was 1 out of the trophies. Does he make it in? He improves by 3/10, but it's not enough to catch up to Michael Francis, who sits in third. So Jason Vehe settling for 4th in that JAV Racing Kart Modified kart thing. Yeah, how do you announce kart names? All right, Colin Schuyler in the Honda Red Speed kart. That one's nice and easy. 49.7. Second driver to make it below 50 in kart mod. So Colin Schuyler, 49.7. He's sitting in second, 1.8 behind class leader Scott Boydo. George Nelson in the number 26 kart, 51.2. 51.2, a 10th slower than his previous best for today. Should have Scott Boydo coming up shortly, your class leader in kart mod, as Kevin Vincent comes to the finish, 54.2. That's about a 10th improvement for him. All right, we're going live on the Evo. At the start line as Clarence Clark in the number 29 kart comes through, 50.8, 50.8. Michael Francis is going to be next in. Michael Francis with a 51.8, 51.8 for Michael Francis. Scott Boydo, your class leader, out there for a parade lap, it looks like, as he's got a pretty good advantage as your class leader. Only second drivers in next, and most of them are about 4 seconds back. Does he improve? No, he doesn't. He settles for his first run, a 51.1 for Scott, your leader in kart modified. Watching the A-Mod, or ASP car, of Francis Miller. Got a nifty double view action some onboard action in the corner there from the live feed, as you can follow him along on course from the cameraman here to my right. Matt Butson with the ASP370Z, not an improvement there with a 58.5, so settles for his first run. Unfortunately, not able to get in the trophies. 2.5 back in third. Francis Miller, your live video feed coming through 56.1, 56.1. He improves by 3.5 tenths. Ryan Lutz in next, the 54.6 plus 1 cone. 54.6 plus 1, unfortunately throwing away a pretty good improvement there on a cone. 54.6 plus 1. Robert Christmas in E-Prepared. He improves by a full second, trying to catch up to co-driver Carmen Rollins. Christmas in 55.7, 55.7, but your class leader coming up next, Gordon Maklowitz. What does he have? A 53.9 clean. 53.9. Waiting for that late cone call. Just in case. 53.9 for Gordon Maklowitz. After coning a couple of 55s from earlier, a couple of 53s from earlier, I'm sorry, comes through with a 53.9 in the end. Matt Turo next up, 56.2, 56.2 for Matt Turo in the E-Prepared CRX. It's going to be Dan Washall next in A-Modified, 45.0, 45.0, ups the ante for today in A-Mod. Unfortunately, DNFs on all his runs from yesterday, so 45.0, showing how to get it done at least today. Props to you, Dan. Put a good showing out here on Sunday. Dave O'Malley next in, a 48.3, 48.3 for Dave O'Malley, your class leader here in A-Modified. Kind of rained on everybody's parade as we're back to SSRL. It's the final runs here for SSRL. Just a 10th gap between class leader Stephanie Reeve and Shelly Monfort, who sits in second. Shelly's in second, coming through now in that, I think that's a Z06. Strand will pull out the Z06 vet. Does it say? Yeah, it is that Z06 C6. The number 41 car is Simi Rich is in with a 56.7, 56.7, not enough to get in a third to catch Chrissy Weaver. Shelly in, taking over the lead on that final run of 53.7. It's only a 3/10 gap. Stephanie Reeve needs 3/10 on this run. Rounds the final left-hand sweeper into the right-hand kink. Does she improve? She does! Taking back the lead on a 54.1 to win the class on the final run after Shelly puts the smackdown on a 53.7. Stephanie answers back with a low 54 for a full 1 second improvement to take the win provisionally here in SSRL. It's Stephanie Reeve in the top spot, Shelly Monfort in second, Chrissy Weaver in third, although Chrissy still has a run. She's going to need to make up 3.5 seconds to catch up to Shelly, but we'll see what she can do when she comes up with the second drivers. Cheryl Davis, meanwhile, in with a 55.8, improving over a pair of DNFs, so great job by Cheryl to find the course here on her third run. Donna Marks in the number 98 car, 56.4, but now I'm watching Lara Kramer, who ran a 53.9 from earlier. Is she going to improve even more in that Porsche GT3? A 53.8, improves by a 10th. Not quite enough to go faster than Shelly, but right up there with a top time for today. So great job there by Lara Kramer to show what could have been if it was dry from yesterday. So SSRL after first drivers again. Stephanie Reeve in that top spot, pulling that out on that last run with a full second improvement to keep that advantage, as Shelly Monfort had that flying 53.7 in that Z06C6. So Shelly made that charge, did what she needed to do, but Stephanie able to defend. Chrissy Weaver still yet to run for her third run. She's sitting in third, can only move up from there, so we'll see what she can do. Action still going on in SSRL. All right, SSPL. Back to action as I'm going to take a quick break to catch my breath. SSRL, just as exciting as the SSR counterpart, I'm going to say, if not more so. So I'm told Nicky Barbados got the live feed on board cam. He's coming up in a few cars as Amanda Minen comes through in the SSP car. 59.2, 59.2, slows down by a couple seconds there. 59.2 for Amanda. Laura Harbour is going to be coming up next as the camera car inches closer towards that start line. He's pulling up now. Going to take you for a live onboard feed from your STR class leader. That's Nick Barbado, better known as Agent 002. If you're in on that inside joke. Laura Harbour, 60.9, 60.9. Great improvement by 0.6 there for Laura in the G Street Ladies, number 96 Celica. Lynn Cox coming up next in the STSL Mazda Miata. What does she have to improve? She's your class leader there. As Nick Barbado takes to the course, we're watching on board. His big helmet getting in the way every now and then. Watching him feed that wheel, fighting for traction. As Steve McCarthy times in 171 for Steve McCarthy. 171 in STR, 60.7. Sorry, I missed Lynn Cox with a DNF. Unfortunate there. John Lee in next 190 in STR. Unfortunately, cone on a 57.4. Nick has just 2 more cones next to go. We'll see. Does he have any counter steer? A little bit as he puts on a show through the finish. Slows down a 55.2 for Nick Barbado. 55.2 for Nick Barbado. A little slowdown, maybe showing off for that live onboard feed as he takes the win provisionally here in STR. Tavis Spencer in next in the 194 car, 57.0, 57.0 for Tavis Spencer. Half second behind Stephen Lee for that 12th spot. Jeff Walker timing in, slows down and stays in 3rd place, about a second behind Matthew Braun. 55.2 for him, 55.2 for Jeff Walker. And provisionally in STR, your top 5 trophy spots there. Nick Barbado in the lead by 1.2 over Matthew Braun, who had the top time for at least the day in class. Jeff Walker in 3rd, Noel Leslie in 4th. Marcus Lachelle rounding us out for trophies in STR. Sean Ittner up next. And see prepared. DNF, unfortunately, on this run. A DNF for Sean Ittner. Stays in that 3rd and final trophy position. Ethan Bradbury out for his 3rd and final run. Looks like he actually had a cone on his 2nd run, so needed this run to take the win, and does it. 52.9 on his final run for Ethan Bradbury to take the win by 7/10 over co-driver John Bradbury. Sean Ittner in 3rd, rounding us out for trophies in C Prepared. Greg Vincent in next, slows down by 1/10 of a second on a 58.0. He's 3rd right now, only has Mike Eckert to challenge, so I think he's safe. In 3rd place, Jack Burns is going to need a 1.8 second improvement. He's in the MX-5 coming through the finish now. 58.5 improves by a half second. Not enough to take the lead, but good improvement nonetheless. Sits in 2nd. Provisionally in B Street, Ed Fisher in the top spot. Jack Burns in 2nd. Greg Vincent in 3rd to round out the trophies. Mike Eckert, who had lots of cone trouble from yesterday. We'll see what he can do at 59.0 to put in a solid run to round us out on B Street. Tim Vincent in kart mod up next, 50.3, 50.3. He's your 3rd and final trophy position there. In kart mod, it's Scott Boydo in the lead. Colin Scheidler in 2nd, back by 1.8. And then Timothy Vincent rounding out trophies in kart modified. Aaron Miller coming through next. showing why he's your class leader on a 52.4 to stretch that advantage all the way up to a 6-second lead over co-driver Francis Miller. Carmen rolling in next, 57-1, but plus 2 cones, so no improvement there by Carmen. Stays in second place. Gordon Maklowitz in the top spot. Carmen in second. We are on board with Chrissy Weaver currently as Peter Smith goes to the finish in the AMI car. We have some late workers. Rod McGeorge, you're late. Clay McCool, please check in for work. Ben Ragland, please come check in. Grant Reeve, I know you're supporting Stephanie there in SSRL. We're looking for you for workers. Nick Myers, also need you to check in. Brandon Davis, you too. Third shift workers, please check in now. Peter Smith in with a 3-second improvement, 54.0. So good there by good improvement there by Peter Smith, but he's in second. One and only trophy goes to David O'Malley in A modified. Chrissy Weaver through the finish, defending that number 3 spot. 8/10 improvement for your onboard video feed. Stays in third place in SSRL 2.5 behind Shelly Montfort. Close battle at the end between Shelly and Stephanie, but Stephanie able to defend that lead in the top spot in SSRL. So SSRL top 3 trophy positions. Stephanie even first. Shelly Montfort in second. Chrissy Weaver in third. And I'm going to check the mic out. You're going to have Mike Jr. Johnson coming up next. He's right here at my doorstep. This is PJ Corrales shamelessly signing out.
All right, great job, PJ. All right, real quick, some housekeeping stuff here. Remember, the region has some T-shirts there for sale under the Lincoln Driver Center, so get yourself an event T-shirt. I believe they even have some from the Match Tour from earlier this year. If you missed out on that, got a hot-looking Corvette modeled after Mr. Schaefer's. Also want to let you know that the food vendor at 11 o'clock, so in about 20 minutes, the food vendor out in the paddock area will be open for business. So make sure to take care of our food vendor. The great food out there. If you hadn't had one of those cheeseburgers, I'd highly recommend them. Also want to give a big shout out to Carl Rickert with the Carts Live Internet Video Production Services. And yesterday we were sitting in here watching some of the runs in real time. About time we had something like that. I like it. Takes a guy who used to run with us all the time and then leaves us for a while. He has to come back and show us what technology's all about. What's going on there? We should get this third heat going shortly. Let's see if I can find a list of what we've got going on in Heat 3. All right, Mr. Preeb with the bad boy list. Who do we have here? Clay McCool. You are now officially late. And Grant Reeve. Grant probably back there hanging out with his beautiful bride who just finished up there in SSL. Is that Rick Myers? Rick Myers, we're looking for you. Nick Myers, Rick Myers. Both you Myers boys, you get on your job assignment right away. Actually, you need to come see Mr. Preeb first. Brandon Davis as well. Looks like a couple of you all were probably hanging out in the super stock R ladies grid. I don't blame you. High horsepower and hot ladies, that's always a good combination. At least in my eyes, it is. How about you there, Carl?
I like that girl on girl Subaru.
Oh, girl on girl Subaru action they had running earlier. He said he was a fan of that. Yeah, this is a family show, so we're going to leave that one alone. So looks like we're going to have some live action again from Carl. A really neat deal.